What's up? What's up? Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm just checking one thing here. Not sure why it wasn't picking up my correct microphone, but there we go. All right, what's up, folks? Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well this morning. JTW here with another Xtrades FOMO live stream. Hope everybody had an excellent weekend and has had a good start to their week. So we're going to go through, as we always do, some trade plan recaps. Going to talk about what we're seeing here just with the markets in general through the lens of S&P futures. And then we'll get to some new trade plans this morning based on your ticker requests. What's up, Navy Plum? Good morning. How are you this morning? Hope you're doing well. What's up, Strife? Unknown Reviews. Good to see everybody in the chats, both in Discord and YouTube. Yeah, we're gonna take a look at those plans. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't pull that one up yet. I like to have my reviews kind of stacked up here on the top, ready to go. Oh yeah, that one took off. Oh my god. Oh yeah. I do remember this one now. Actually, I just forgot to pull up the tab. Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, let's get into it then. So what are we seeing here from a futures perspective? As always, as we go through this, feel free to chime in with any questions or any ticker requests you have, or any commentary you might have, as we kind of make our way through some of these charts and trade plans. So again, I want this to be an interactive experience, so feel free to chat it up with me. I will do my best to field and respond to all of your questions, inquiries, comments, etc. All right, so looking at things again through the lens of ES, kind of as a gauge of what the markets are doing in general. I know we talked about this last week. We're still kind of looking at a very similar scenario, just a lot of sideways movement, but a very similar scenario, or really kind of an unchanged scenario, not similar, it's unchanged, since our last view of this area where we've got this key confluence of 54, 42, 25, a key resistance level here on S&P futures, along with the top of the key selling pressure there, or the key selling level in the heaviest selling pressure area of NTS, all kind of coming together right there at 55, 42, 25. So that continues to be a really, I'd say, important level to watch for the market to potentially try to make another push to the upside, potentially even get to the point where it prints a new all-time high. I think that's got to fall first before anything else happens. And then we do have a small gap overhead. I think that does fill at the very least. If we do get that break of 55, 42, 25, I think at the very least we get a move up there to 55, 94.50 before we see any major resistance, and likely at least a small pullback up there would be my anticipation. A couple of other things I'll mention just looking at this chart, some things that have shifted since we last spoke about it. This 200 SMA has come in line with this downtrend that we've been watching, and I think we were kind of anticipating that. We might have even drawn that out hypothetically on one of our live streams recently. But that's going to add, I think, to the pressure there at 55, 42, 25. So, if we do get a move sometime between now and, between now and 4 p.m. today, really, there could potentially be, if we get a good upside move into that could wind up being a really big confluence and probably a great opportunity to go ahead and put some hedges in place, maybe even take some puts just proactively for profit, and then keep a tight stop on it. I'd say if the market does not reject there and winds up breaking through 55.61, I think that then you're in trouble for that gap, more than likely filling. And you'll probably want to be out of those hedges and just let your longs ride their way through the trend, rebuilding back to the upside. So anyway, that kind of gives us an idea of what to look at or think about as we consider different trades that we might want to get into this week, and in the near future, especially today. Could also wind up seeing a lot of chop. Another thing to be just aware of, or just kind of a reminder, I'm sure pretty much everybody knows this, but we do have the FOMC rate decision tomorrow at 2 p.m. And there is a press conference after that at 2:30. So that will be very interesting to see how that comes out. I believe all expectations are that the rate will remain unchanged as far as this particular meeting. I think the key factor to what's going to come out on Wednesday is going to be kind of any hints or guidance or suggestion of when we might see a rate cut. Will it be September? The market has priced that in heavily. If that gets delayed, does that cause a major ripple effect? I would say probably short term it does, but I think the market's always forward looking and knows that eventually rate cuts are coming. Also with this being an election year, they may feel some political pressure, even though they say they don't fall prey to that or bend to that. I'm sure there's probably some political pressure with this being an election year to start cutting rates before November. So September, is definitely a smart month to target for that. I think I've been saying since last year that second half of this year is most likely when we'll see any kind of rate cuts. Back when everybody was saying it would be like March and May. So this really hasn't changed all that much. It's kind of played out the way I sort of expected it to, which is the Fed is not going to be too trigger happy with cutting rates again as they continue to try to fight fairly sticky inflation, but we're seeing better numbers on that. All right, so let's get into some trade reviews, and then we'll get into some new trade plans. I hope all of that stuff was helpful for kind of setting you guys up for the week. Does Microsoft have earnings today? I don't know. Good question. You know that. All right, so let's take a look at this trade plan here with Snow. This was one of our member selected tickers. In fact, this was the number one ticker that got the most votes. And actually, let's go to the recap for these. I forgot I broke these out into their own sets of levels that are just be easier to see the trade plans, I think. But if you guys want to go back to the chart with like 100 levels on it, just let me know. I'm fine with that too. All right, so what are we looking at here on Snow? We were looking for a break over 131.74 to play this for upside continuation, potentially as high as 138.17 before we see any significant pullbacks, or to the downside, a break below 128.02 to play for continuation to the downside. We put this plan together and published it Sunday evening. So, so far it's kind of been nothing to see here. Interesting confluence rejection here on the Neptune 5-minute chart there. Ran right up to the key level there for the upside trade plan. The stop loss average down there at 130.58. That was a penny off of yesterday's high a day, actually. So I'd say fairly good level there. Also looks like it was pretty much dead on with the pre-market high there, although this one kind of prints weird, sketchy candles during extended hours trading. So maybe not too much to celebrate with that. But it is interesting to see where those prints come in sometimes. And then, again, a rejection here, key resistance after we flip that stuff over combo. So interesting test, again, talking about those kind of prints that we see, even if it is something that doesn't trade very consistently pre-market, where those prints come in. That's an interesting pickup and bounce right off the put entry level there at 128.02. This one does seem to be leaning a little bit bearish to me. So I would say under 129.08, it looks like it's got potential to continue down and break below the 128.02 level, and then start heading for some price targets to the downside there at 125.84, 124.37, and 122.73. But so far, again, nothing confirmed as far as our confirmed entry levels that we're waiting to see break upside or downside on this one. Some interesting tests of our levels, but again, nothing really actionable as of yet. All right, NVIDIA was number 2 on the member selected trade plans. Let me actually do this through the recap window as well, just to make it a little easier to see. So looking at NVIDIA here on the 5-minute, we see it breaking down, back testing this confluence of moving averages here. The 200 and the 333 are a couple that I talk about all the freaking time. I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing me talk about those, but again, they wind up being really solid kind of dynamic support and resistance levels in a lot of cases. Also, for me personally, I like to use them as a gauge of sort of generally where is the direction heading on a certain time frame, with the 200 being under the 333 here. We've got a little bit of a bearish lean at the moment on NVIDIA for sure. And also to add to that, it is now pre-market broken below and back tested a couple of times the put entry level there. right off the open. A little bit of a higher back test, but this looks like a little bit more of a solid and clean back test showing that resistance there. Did catch that Neptune buying pressure there at 110.57, but I think if that gives way, we should see some downside price targets here on NVIDIA. So keep your eyes on that. You may also already be in puts. There certainly was some signs of it beginning to break down going into yesterday's close. So looks like things will continue to work out favorably, especially once, if and when I should say, what do we say, 110.57 gives way. All right, CrowdStrike. This is, the people that broke the internet a few weeks ago. They continue to struggle here somewhat. We have a downside, or gosh, I should go back and do the recap for this one, like I'm doing with all the other ones. There we go. All right, so this one gave some signs of trying to break out here. That was maybe a pretty good confirmation break to the upside. So maybe my call entry level was a bit aggressive. I do remember debating myself a little bit about where that call entry level was. I don't remember which level specifically I was debating between, or if I was looking at something as far as where I put this 263.73. I didn't mark it. It's probably some of this action that I saw. That looks like that still is kind of the more key resistance. So I may have just chosen, kind of had two levels to choose between and chose more aggressively, and it looks like perhaps incorrectly on this one. So my apologies again. We don't bat 1,000 with anything in the world of trading. So it looks like I may have just had a little bit of an error in judgment on where exactly that key resistance should be, because certainly back here looks like that was probably a pretty good break above, and that could have potentially looked like a back test setting up. I could have certainly seen myself have gotten myself into this one had I been watching crowd. I am watching it, but I'm looking for more of a shares opportunity to enter. And my target for that's actually kind of been down here around this 232 area for a while now. So we are breaking below now the put entry level and back testing it as resistance there at 250.30. So keep that on watch there, because if we continue to hold below that, also key selling pressure there on Neptune. If that confluence holds going into the trading day, I'd say this could be a good one to short at the open. And then in addition to that, you do have the 200.333 adding some additional selling pressure overhead there near the stop loss average down. So that should kind of help backstop the plan if you go ahead and get into something below 250.30 and try to play near the open. Again, I generally recommend waiting at least 15 to 30 minutes into the trading day. Get your bearings. Don't get caught in any kind of liquidity hunts early into the trading day, and then be ready to execute from there is kind of my general approach. But every once in a while you gotta take a shot at some things, especially near the open, because those can be pretty lucrative plays if it's a plus type setup. So anyway, CrowdStrike, again, I think I've probably have a little bit of a misstep on what our call entry level should have been up there to the upside, but this does look like it is going to play out to the downside now moving forward. So keep an eye on it. Let's go to our trade plans from last week's live stream on Thursday, and then we'll get to some of these new trade plan requests that you guys have dropped in the chats. I see AMD so far from Unknown Reviews. If anybody else has any ticker requests, go ahead and put those in the mix, unless Strife, your Microsoft was a nudge that you want us to do a Microsoft plan, in which case we can certainly do that. All right, so trade plans. This one was from last Thursday. This one did open with, it's like, why does that look so weird? Although Colgate Palmolive is one that we do want to watch on regular trading hours. Let's hide this. Let's dig in here. Okay, so essentially what we were looking for was a break above going into this trading day, 97.10. It kind of happened super fast. So when this kind of thing happens, and this is actually a really great example to talk about it, where we opened up right above and gave like a quick little dip below, back test, also had the 200 SMA right there, but 333 just overhead, kind of a bearish lean to this. So I see some sensibility in trying to take an entry near the open there, but You know, again, you would have, based on how this candle looks, I didn't watch this play out, but based on how this candle looks, I mean, you think you would have had to pretty much open calls right at market open, which again is a pretty risky thing to do. That being said, when this happens, right, and this was the kind of the teachable moment that I noticed here, I want to talk about real quick, and let's zoom in kind of on this day specifically here on Thursday. When this happens, especially when you get something like, you know, your close and then your confirmation candle are almost hitting PT1, don't chase an entry up here. Me personally, I say, okay, if this just continues to rip to the upside, I missed it, no big deal. I can move on with my life. I got plenty of other trade plans, as you can see here, to keep an eye on and execute, plus trading SPY pretty much every day. You know, it's there's plenty of other things to trade. You don't have to go after every plan just because you get what is technically a confirmed break, especially where it's when that confirmed break doesn't really take place until it's eaten up, you know, the vast majority of that move to the upside. So when these types of plays, or when these trade plans play out like this, I should say, you know, I'm waiting for something like this. Give me a back test somewhere near my call entry level, and then I'll look at perhaps taking an entry if I really kind of still like the setup and nothing significant has changed in the market, or there hasn't been some kind of major catalyst that's just dropped that says, you know, the market might continue down. You know, obviously everything's very subjective and in the moment. You know, it's case by case basis, I guess is probably the best way to say that. But generally speaking, you know, I'm waiting for this, right? I'm waiting for that pullback and back test before I go for anything, and then I can trade the plan from there, keeping my stop loss in place and my price targets in place. So anyway, I happened to notice that. It was a great example of something I get asked about a lot, as far as, like, you know, when the move is just super fast. I don't chase, right? Especially super fast right near the open. I just don't chase. It either comes back, the trade comes to me, and I'm ready to crush it from there, or it doesn't, right? And I've got plenty of other things to trade. You know, and some days are just choppy, weird days, or things move really fast and you miss your entries. And, you know, some days you just need to accept, hey, maybe it's not a good day to trade at all. You know, you don't have to trade every day. And I certainly do not. There's some days where I just take off because I want a break. All right, so let's talk about how this finished playing out. That we did, again, eventually get that back test of the call entry there at 97.10. Never threatened really all that closely. Our stop loss average down there at 96.05, and then after earnings, gapped up, gave us a quick back test of PT1, ran up to PT2, found some resistance near there, and then a little bit of a break above and a back test, and ultimately tapped PT3, rejected that slightly. I think this, at this point, was probably fib extensions. Yeah, I think they were fib extensions, weren't they? So yeah, catching that resistance test there fairly accurately, untested resistance, I should say, if that is a fib extension, if I'm remembering correctly. And then ultimately pushed a little bit higher and is pulling back pre-market. Let's see where it's sitting. Again, this one doesn't really trade all that well pre-market, but coming back to an interesting spot, actually, if these pre-market prints hold up, where you got the 200 SMA and the 99.61 PT2 level. So something kind of interesting to keep on watch, but you know, I'd be a little bit cautious. And again, for all I know, this is going to open in a totally different spot. These tickers that don't trade heavily during the extended hour sessions, are just where you see those prints can be a little bit unreliable. When you see these little hash marks everywhere, you know, be very careful about putting too much stock into where those are sitting, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, so let's head on over to Walmart. This was another one that we did last Thursday on the live stream. This one did break down, give us confirmation of a break below, showing some resistance on those back tests and pushing down off the put entry there on Walmart. Ultimately went into the next trading day there on Friday, dumped all the way down to PT1 plus. If you didn't get in there, there wasn't really an actionable entry there, actually, I would say. Kind of goes back to that same scenario that we just talked about with, what was that? CL? Yeah, back here on Colgate-Palmolive. Anyway, if you didn't get in here, this probably wasn't all that actionable, and a great example of one that just kind of continues down and you don't chase it. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, you know, more than likely, I mean, that's you know, that's his strategy, and more power to him, right? So we've seen a couple of tests here. The key selling level there, pre-market and during the trading day yesterday, that continues to try to push Walmart to the downside. Did make a higher low yesterday, so that's kind of to be noted. But looks like it's testing a little bit of a potential breakdown here pre-market. So, keep an eye on it. If it gets another back test of the put entry level, there's a lot of things that are kind of lining up there that says that would maybe be a good spot to be a re-entry for puts if you didn't grab any really kind of on that breakdown back there. So keep that one on watch. But overall, Walmart trade plan playing out to the downside, targets being hit. And then 3M Company for unknown reviews, one of these earnings catalyst plays. How'd you do on this unknown reviews? I know I got a thank you on that, but yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's great. It's great on every time frame. Like it's and really the 333 SMA is the thing that kind of unlocked that combination for me. And the 333 SMA, if I remember correctly, came from me trying to project. I want to say I was trying to get probably the 200. Yeah, I was trying to get the 200 SMA from the 5-minute chart to kind of give me, or what's the equivalent of that if I wanted to watch that same moving average but watch it on the 3-minute chart. And so you math that out, 200 times 5 becomes 1,000, divide that by 3, you wind up with 333.33333 repeating. So that's how the 333 SMA came into my world, kind of by happenstance. But it's been a tremendously accurate indicator to watch in my particular opinion. All right, so 3M unknown reviews. Tell me what calls did you take on this one, and what did you don't have to give me a dollar figure, but what was your percent gain on your contracts on your max return on these? Because I 111 went crazy. Oh yeah, 111 calls. I'm sure you crushed it, man. Was bearish, but hedge from time to time. 111. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, this one, did report earnings, was essentially kind of in the chop range, no trade zone range, but ultimately broke out to the upside for what it's worth on the 15 minutes. Neptune had flipped bearish going into earnings, but again, not something I would use as like this gives me a higher, earnings are a total shot in the dark. It could report great and dump. It could report mediocre and rip. I mean, there's just earnings are a gamble, right? So you never really know what they're going to do, but ultimately broke out to the upside, back tested PT1, and then just absolutely launched off there. Didn't even really test PT2 or 3 at all, just ran straight up through up to the next weekly level up here at 126.67, broke above, tried to back test and hold that. Seems to still be riding Neptune from a trend standpoint, caught lots of bottoms off the 15-minute there yesterday. But I think really needs to get a good amount of momentum over 126.67 to continue higher, in my personal opinion. But yeah, 1,000% trade. I love it. It's awesome on reviews. Well, glad this one worked out for you. Again, those earnings catalyst plays can certainly be one to consider. Just be smart about how you play them. You clearly do this all the time. You've got a strategy that works for you. As I always say with trading, everybody's got their own recipe to make the sauce, if you will. And everybody can make some really good sauce, even if it is a different process, different ingredients. It's just about if it works for you, that's all that counts. Trading is art, not a science. There's not one specific way to do it without to become a profitable trader, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Other than keep your wins bigger than your losses and all that kind of stuff. Those are kind of pretty hard and fast rules, no matter what your strategies are for execution. All right, so let's get into some new trade plans here this morning. We've got AMD on the docket. Anybody else with any other ticker requests, go ahead and drop those in the chats. Let's get to it. AMD is one I haven't looked at in a while. Semis have been struggling for sure. What's up? Sure, Sechin. We'll take a look at Lily for you. All right. So I'm going to just for a minute here flip off the indicators. Take a look at things just from a price action standpoint. That's always where I like to start. And then we can layer those indicators in to kind of figure out confluences and potential entries and all that good stuff. Let's just clean up these levels real quick. Same D chart looks a little. Oh, I guess I went through and did new levels and really kind of only did daily and weekly levels, but I'd be surprised. Okay, I was gonna say I'd be surprised if I got rid of all my old levels too. Yeah, I was probably just looking to update the higher time frame levels. I need to go back and compare these both, so I'm gonna, unfortunately, temporarily at least, make my chart a little bit extra noisy because I haven't finished my work on my AMD chart yet as I look through this. Man, this thing's really gotten its ass beat for a while here. Let's take a look at this higher time frame. I'm actually gonna hide these again for a minute. I want to see. It looks like there's a pretty major downtrend here. At least it looks like there could be. Might be trying to break through it actually, though that's also not. Yeah, it's not really a confirmed downtrend. A little test there, but what's also one thing I don't love to do with trends is get extended hours too involved when I'm looking at those specifically. Might be a smaller time frame that we'll need to look at to find this, but there's definitely a downtrend. It could be firing off this cash session gap. Yeah, right about there. Actually, maybe move this over. Let's catch this. That should get pretty close. Let's see what this looks like on the hourly. Maybe we can clean it up a little. Or it could be that it actually just originates a little more recently. Yeah, that looks pretty solid to me, actually. Okay. All right, so got this downtrend we're fighting with. Daily resistance overhead here that we tested there yesterday pre-market was a little bit of a gap that opened off that level. That gap filled and it rejected. There is a level there, probably on my, yeah, set of levels. I'm gonna go ahead and mark it in here. I'll go color code this so I remember to go back and kind of add it in correctly. All right, so what are we looking for here? I think what we need for AMD, there's another interesting level here. And again, this one has a pretty bearish lean to it still, but if you can break out over, I think what I'd really like to see is a break over 145.81 for this to really potentially get some legs to the upside. There's a potential earlier entry here at 142.71. I'm going to use that flip of resistance to support as a stop loss average down versus using it as an entry, but you know, put that in the for what it's worth category. If you did use that as an entry, I'd be watching this 139.01 as my stop loss average down for that particular entry level. But over 145.81, see a very strong possibility of getting up to this weekly resistance, testing that there at 150.55. And even though I've got kind of minimal levels on this, I think I've got the levels we need. Even looking at the hourly here, PT3 could push a little higher than that weekly level though. Let's see if that's a existing level from my, oh, there they go. From my, yeah, right there on the hourly chart, sitting right about here. I think there's a shot at that being PT3. So let's take a shot at it. All right, so I like that upside plan. Check the indicator, see if anything changes any of that. Yeah, no, I mean, add some agreement, I think. We got the 333 overhead here on the 15-minute. That would flip everything from a Neptune perspective bullish and get us over the 333 over 145.81 versus that potential earlier aggressive entry. If you took it there, you'd be rolling things over on Neptune, but you could be running right into the 333 and get rejected. So, just be mindful of that, is what I'll say. All right, so downside, I'm already, of course, eyeballing this recent test of this 137.28 support, but I'm interested to see how that's played out historically. I think that is a good entry. I also believe that gives us a shot at 133.62. Then on down to this daily level. Question is, it's interesting support that got built up right there. Take a quick look at my old levels. I think that was, yeah, that was an all-time high at some point, actually. And we have back tested that as support and built a nice base off of it previously. So, whoops, I say we leave that in place. Mark it so I know to go back. Whoops, so I know to go back and look at that. And then the stop loss average down for the downside. Again, probably one of my smaller time frame levels. I haven't gone a remap. There's definitely something sitting right about here that I would definitely pay attention to, and I think gives the trade fair room to work out. Probably keeps us right at a 1-to-1 on the downside. So downside's kind of looking like it's maybe running out of runway before it starts to hit some really key supports, but again, semis have been a little bit beat up over the last month or so. So still have that bearish lean at the moment. The trend is your friend. Wait for confirmation of things shifting in another direction before you change your bias to suit the trend, I guess is probably the right way to approach that, right? All right, so let's talk through this real quick. Let me drop these charts in for you guys. All right. So here's our AMD live stream plan. And I'll post this over in the options watch list. Discord homies. All right. So what are we looking for here on AMD? Well, we're looking for a break over 145.81. I think we get real good confirmation of continuing up higher over that. If we break over 145.81, that should give us targets at 150.55, 153.25, and 156.91. So we're maybe shooting a little greedy up there, but as long as you're moving your stops up with the trade plan, I think it's okay to give a little bit of an extra stretch there. Just make sure that you're chasing with stops the whole way through until you get there. That way you never let a green trade go red. Stop loss average down for that upside trade plan at 142.71. Also potential early entry there at 142.71. If you do use that early entry, use 140.54 as your stop loss average down for that particular entry. Also be mindful earnings after hours. Well, I should wait to talk about that until we talk about the downside trade plan, which is looking for a break below 137.28. And then we're looking for targets at 133.62, 130.31, and 127.37 with a stop loss average down there at 140.54 that we just talked about for that potential earlier, more aggressive entry trade plan. And again, reminder, earnings after hours this evening, so be ready to scale out this trade intraday unless you're willing to take the risk of swinging through earnings, which again can be a very high risk scenario. So let's check out Lily or Sechin. All right. One I haven't looked at in a little while. They've been a little bit beat up because they've got some competition out there in the world. I think it was like a like Viking or somebody like that, some pharmaceutical company I'd never heard of before. I guess it's come out with a weight loss drug of their own that I guess is there's concerns over how much that eats into Lilly's market share. I guess I have not personally investigated it much further, but that's my kind of narrative or understanding of the narrative behind some of this pullback that we've seen. Yeah, fight VKTX. That's right. Thanks on reviews. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'd never heard of them before. They just kind of like came out of the gate and blew up one day. So that being said, that caused this downtrend to form here on Eli Lilly. Does seem like we have broken out of that downtrend and are trying to build a base here off this 806.67 4-hour support and resistance level. Again, Lilly is not one that I've charted extensively, so we'll probably fill in some blanks as we make our way through this. This is a really interesting firm rejection, and we've seen resistance there a few times over the last few trading days. They're at 824.92. Do have a level that's slightly higher than that. Let's take a look at these two levels kind of historically. Let me go slightly zoomed out, bigger picture look at this. Because again, I not charted Lilly extensively, so generally start at your higher time frames and zoom in from there. High of the week, but that doesn't really show a whole lot. Let's see. There's like a double top in there. I do see, I think there's a daily level that's sitting right here that I don't have currently, or I didn't have. I have it now. That looks like the key level to break to me. So let's start digging in here a little bit tighter. Yeah, I think over that 825.87 level that I'm eyeballing here, looking for 846.52. Over that, I do like this 865.86 level that we can see here on the 4-hour. And then I think it takes a shot. Yeah, up here at 886.44. We can use this 806.67 as our stop loss average down. To the downside, do have a key level here at 794.03. That was an all-time high at one point. I'm seeing some interesting prints. Let's get a little tighter into this price action back here. Yeah, I think really the better confirmation is down here around 788.85. Below that, I think we've got a good shot at 779.90. Share stop loss. Do we share stop loss average down with the upside? It's pretty close. Actually, this, looking at this on the hourly, this could just be slightly lower, right about there. Still looks pretty good to me though, the way that sets up. So, remaining price targets, let's see. Kind of a tight PT 1 and 2, but there's definitely another potential spot, also a daily level. So one of my higher time frame levels there at 764.12, and then last but not least, I think we're shooting for 752.68. Okay, so let's map this out. Let me drop these charts in the chat. And then I think that will probably conclude our live stream for this morning. Give me a little bit of extra time to work up the SPY plan, to get posted in our Discord. That has been on fire as of late. Hope you guys are following it. Those that are in our Xtrades Discord community, every morning pre-market, you pretty much get the total playbook for how to execute intraday SPY trades. All right, so this is our Lily live stream plan. And post this over the options watch list. All right, so what are we looking for here on Eli Lilly? We're looking for a break over 825.87. That should give us targets at 846.52, 865.86, and 886.44, with a stop loss average down at 805.42. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 789.87, or sorry, 789.97. With a first price target there at, what is that? Let me spread this out a little bit. 773.65, then on down to 764.12, and then finally 752.68 with a stop loss average down at 805.42. Those are your Lily trade plans, upside and downside. And with that, we're going to wrap up another successful FOMO live stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoy doing these and getting to work with everybody a couple of days a week. As a reminder, we will be back Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our second live stream of the week. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll be back Thursday morning. Tell your friends. It's free to join on YouTube, so come check it out. So with that being said, as we always say here on the FOMO live streams, plan your trades, trade your plans, go out there, get some green. I will see you guys in the Xtrades Discord. Have a great day. See you back here Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Take care. Talk to you soon.